Hello and welcome to Global News Factory. Russia's patience is over and now it is pointing missiles at maps on national TV. Well, Berlin, you are the new bullseye. Germany's talk of sending Taurus missiles to Ukraine has Moscow frothing. Why? Because those missiles can hit Moscow and they don't fire themselves, meaning German fingerprints are all over them. Suddenly, we are not talking support anymore, we are talking combatant. And while Berlin fumbles with diplomacy, the US is busy proposing a 500% tariff tantrum that could nuke the global economy faster than Russia ever could. If this is Western plan, Putin can sit back, sip tea, and let the West self-destruct. Let's begin. Russian media is not beating around the bush anymore. It is practically drawing missile trajectories on TV maps, with Berlin right at the center. At the heart of the firestorm, Germany's potential delivery of Taurus long-range missiles to Ukraine. These bad boys can hit targets up to 500 kilometers away, which means if you are doing the math, Moscow is officially within reach if launched from the right spot in Ukraine. That is not speculation anymore. RT's chief, Margarita Simonian, went full Cold War mode this week, warning that if German troops help fire a Taurus at Moscow, Berlin will be on the receiving end of a Russian missile response. She was not vague, she literally said strike Berlin would be the only remaining option. Let's be clear, the Taurus is not some plug-and-play toy. Key forces cannot just unwrap it, push a button, and watch it go. According to Simonian, it requires German technicians to handle programming and targeting, which from Moscow's point of view makes it a German missile strike. Not Ukrainian, not NATO, German. Now that is the red line Russia is drawing in bold font. And Russia is not just rattling sabers for show. A Kremlin-tied military expert appearing on Russia's top talk shows is already calling for preemptive strikes on Taurus missile factories inside Germany. Not symbolic slaps, but non-nuclear painful hits, he says. Now, this recent announcement by Chancellor Friedrich Merz that Germany and its allies are lifting restrictions on the range of weapons Ukraine can use has lit the fuse. Berlin's policy shift, likely meant to show strength, might end up showing Germany the consequences of poking a bear with a long-range stick. Now here is the uncomfortable truth. Russia sees this not just as escalation but as direct involvement. No more proxy war, no more deniability. If Germany loads the Taurus and aims it at Moscow, Russia is now openly saying it will treat Berlin as a combatant. We are no longer in the realm of speculation. We have crossed into a dangerous new chapter where one German-made missile can redefine the war and redraw the map of targets. So Berlin better decide fast. Is it prepared to go from behind-the-scenes arms supplier to frontline participant? Because Moscow is not bluffing anymore, and this time it is personal. And now let's talk about a headline Moscow has been waiting to frame on a gold plaque. Europe says no to NATO troops in Ukraine. Not now, not post-war, not unless the US signs off. And Trump just slammed the door shut. As per a Financial Times report, while the UK and France were thumping the war drums and flirting with the idea of deploying NATO troops in Ukraine after the war ends, the rest of Europe quietly stepped back. No US commitment, no European soldiers. Because let's face it, without America's big guns and bigger wallets, NATO suddenly becomes a much quieter choir. Trump's stance is brutally simple. America never should have dipped its toe into the Russia-Ukraine conflict to begin with. And under his watch, the US sure as hell would not be sending troops to hold the line. The man who once said America would not be the world's policeman is living up to the promise, at least this one. And just like that, Russia scores a massive symbolic win. NATO is split, the alliance's posturing looks paper thin, and the message to Moscow? loud and clear: without the US, Europe won't act. Now let's rewind to the core issue. Why is this war even happening? Russia's answer has always been unwavering: NATO's eastward creep. The alliance promised Moscow it would not expand post-Cold War, then rolled into Poland, then Baltics, and started eyeing Ukraine. For Russia, that was a red line wrapped in barbed wire. And guess who just explained the off-ramp to this whole mess? Vladimir Putin himself. Now, standing in Moscow before a gathering of global security minds, he laid out a peace plan. No middlemen, no secret handshakes, just one principle: mutual security without stepping on anyone's toes. His pitch? Simple. Europe must adopt a new security system that protects everyone, including Russia, without turning any country into cannon fodder for NATO's ambitions. Not one nation's security should come at the cost of another's, he said, echoing the very words that Western diplomats used in the 90s before promptly ignoring them. See, this is Russia saying, let us stop pretending that NATO is a neighborhood watch when it is clearly armed to teeth. Let Europe handle European security for Europe. And if the continent needs a blueprint, maybe, just maybe, Moscow has one. The ball is now in Europe's court, but I highly doubt any sane response from them. As I say, Europe is nowadays a graveyard of common sense and sanity. Just when you thought American lawmakers could not invent a more self-sabotaging idea than debating UFO budgets, they have outdone themselves. A new bill, charmingly titled the Sanctioning Russia Act, proposes 500% tariffs on anything remotely smelling of Russian trade. Not just on Russia, on any country that dares do business with Moscow. That includes China, India, Israel, Japan, Taiwan, the EU, Africa, Southeast Asia, and oh yes, the US itself. This marvel of economic suicide is being led by Senator Lindsey Graham and co-signed by 50 other lawmakers who apparently believe the global diplomacy works like a bad action movie. Punish everyone, blow things up, and hope the villain folds in the final scene. The logic: if you buy even a drop of oil or a pinch of plastic from Russia, the US will hammer your entire economy with a 500% tariff. So if Japan imports 3.6 million worth of Russian LNG, boom, everything Japan sells to US gets taxed into oblivion. Taiwan imports naphtha from Russia. If Israel buys plastic, pay up. Even Ukraine, yes, Ukraine, which until recently enabled Russian gas pipelines to Europe, would ironically qualify for the punishment club. That is like giving a speeding ticket to the ambulance trying to outrun a missile. And here is the kicker: the US itself is still importing enriched uranium from Russia, over 600 million worth last year, which means the US government is technically also on the tariff hit list. Will US sanction itself? Will customs officers seize their own shipments? Stay tuned. Now see, this is not a foreign policy plan, this is economic cannibalism. A 500% tariff on your own allies while trying to wage a cold war with Russia and a tech war with China. That is not tough on Russia, by the way, that is tough on common sense. In reality, this bill will, number one, shatter US ties with key allies. Number two, raise prices for American consumers across the board. Number three, push neutral countries straight into China's arms. Number four, make the dollar look like an unstable bet in global trade. Number five, still not pressure Russia to do anything differently. Now Moscow is likely toasting champagne over this. Why fight NATO when the US is willing to blow up its own alliances? If this bill becomes law, Washington would not just be sanctioning Russia, it will be sanctioning reality. You are watching Global News Factory. Thanks for staying with me. Bye bye. Take care. Have a good day.